really like to be here at this event, and I like the industry to exchange, and it was very interesting to see what you are doing in inkjet, which projects you have. And so I find it very inspiring, and I mean, inkjet is a great technology. It has so many inherent beneficial characteristics for production processes, huge advantages over traditional printing methods, and also a lot of sustainable aspects that the technology offers itself to producing companies. And to make it a complete package, a final solution, there's also, of course, what our company does. We are part of the value chain, and in this presentation I want to give you a short outlook what you can do and why it will pay off for your company at the end commercially as well. Nowadays, of course, there's a lot of noise about the actions that we need to take for a cleaner environment. That's clear. The difference to the past is that the end users are more than ever aware of the situation, and they drive the need up through us as we are part of the value chain. They raise the pressure on the brands that we are producing products with, and so on and so forth. So we basically cannot step back. We need to follow that because the customer, the end user, will demand it. And on the way, you will find a lot of obstacles. Basically, most companies were hit by the trend without having a long-term strategy years back. So what you face cost increases if you implement like a certain label to your product, or if you face that you have too less resources, maybe not the right people, maybe not the backup from all departments in the company. So a lot of obstacles will come in your way when you start working here. Just a short side note, if you're really starting here, to provide orientation, look up the website. They have defined 70 goals for sustainability, and you don't need to fulfill all of them. You choose basically what applies to your company. This is what Marabu has chosen for themselves and what actions we have done towards them. Goals, you need to realize them, and here is also where the problem starts. Now, this is the Marabu way of doing our process. We have our executive committee setting the goals, so they share their vision to us basically, which we need to follow, and that helps a lot because it is backed up in the whole company, basically every action that we are going to take. They define the goals, hand it over to an extra department, and we are not a big company, so you see 3 people here, and in fact it is 3 people. But they are authorized to issue instructions to subsidiaries and departments within our company. Basically, they start the project, they monitor it, they do the protocol, they do the feedback to the management, and we are also, of course, certifying this by external partners and agencies. Now, here's the TÜV, but it can be any company, depending on the project that we're actually doing. And this is the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. That's what people say. So actually, this is something that we live since quite a while, and there are 2 reasons. We have this was still the owner's family back in the day. They had a personal vision of a green future already back in the day. And second, every project that we do led into commercial success. We either won new customers or we had savings at the end. And we have quite some projects over the years which prove that to us. There's nothing we really did just voluntary at the end. It was for our benefit. It started with inks free from carcinogenic, mutagenic project substances, health and safety, which opened new markets to us, so on and so forth. Several listings, like recently the Carbon Disclosure Project. You don't need to do much here really, but you access a circle of companies, brands, which pick suppliers from that list that enable you to get new business. I've chosen a few practical examples, also how you can generate savings. And electricity is a topic, we heard it this morning. We are constantly reducing, of course, the electricity we want to use for cost reasons. Some of these measures are quite costly, so like building modernization, that's our overall consumption, investments in cooling techniques for mills and so on. but others are quite cheap. And on the right-hand side, here you see a graph, which is a key performance indicator at Marabu, which I don't think many ink manufacturers have. It's the electricity manufactured kilograms of ink. And we're constantly reducing this over the years. And basically, you do not invest something here. It's all about optimizing the process, milling times, and at the end, you end with lower cost for electricity, and you have higher throughput in production, which pay off in higher margins at the end. Other examples, it's the printouts that we do. It's quite funny, I think. We are a printing ink manufacturer, but we're trying to reduce the amount we print by ourselves because, of course, it adds cost. We are also trying to reduce this. There's a slide here that has to do with the ERP system change, I was told. No idea why they printed so much in that year, but it was linked to that. But the years after, you see the effect. The new ERP system helped us to save printouts at the end, so reduce the waste and so on. The reason you do this is really ecological in this case. Every year, an area in the size of UK is harvested to become a paper at the end, every fifth tree. And the unfortunate part of that is 30% of it is illegal most of the time, like in the forest of Brazil or whatever. And of course, waste reduction is a topic. We use for some raw materials reusable containers now. These are arrangements with raw material suppliers that helps us to have not single-use components. Of course, you want to avoid as well shipping long distance. That does not work for everything, but these are a few measures that you can take to avoid ink or to create waste. Yeah? Avoiding is the best thing that you can do. The next thing is recycling. We recycle 79.5% of our waste. And yeah, also ink, if it's on the shelf, it gets old. You need to have clever ways of monitoring your inventory and plan your production in order not to waste ink. So this is why it's an important factor for us too. That's not all ink waste here in tons. Okay, this is overall waste. Good. You can say Marabu's behavior is like in the textbook, and in fact there is a book where an article or chapter is dedicated to Marabu's management principles. So it's a little bit advertising in our marketing presentation here, but just telling this is kind of the model Marabu invented, and we do it really successfully. Now looking at something that is keeping us busy today, which we have no final solution for, is the climate, the carbon neutral, to become carbon neutral. We are in the middle of this. We started this project in 2020. Now, from 2010 to 2020, we already reduced our emissions by 12.5%, but we have started this project together with Climate Neutral with a target to reduce another 25%. The thing is, one part of, we will never have no emissions, and we reduce what we can reduce, and the other part of the emissions that we generate will be offset. So we pay a certain amount of money per ton of CO2 that is donated then to some projects. The projects that we have chosen are mainly in countries where we have subsidiaries. So we have a link to these countries, and so we have in Brazil, China, and actually the plastic bank is my favorite. It is a little bit more worldwide, so it's also in Brazil and Australia and so on. People get paid for collecting plastic from the coast. They bring it to the bank, and then they get a few euros per kilogram plastic connected. A very nice thing. And you may ask, why are we doing this? Why does Marabu pay money to this project? Because it will raise their cost. It's not necessarily less clever in a business matter. But the thing is, if it costs you money, you will immediately know where the pain is, where it hurts actually. So the thing is, you divide it in several scopes. There is, in scope 1 is everything where you as the company are responsible for yourself. That is from your company's electrical cars, air travels, the energy they use and so on. And upstream and downstream processes. And as a chemical manufacturer, we have, of course, a lot of CO2 emitted in our upstream process for the raw materials and so on. The first thing that we start with is now the measures which are in scope 1. We reduced our air travels a lot these days. Mainly our technicians was traveling all around the world to big partners for R&D, to customers. And one way to overcome this is we have installed a network of Microsoft HoloLens goggles all around the world. So with augmented reality, we remotely support our partners during development. Resolution is quite good. You can interact with the person by inserting, you can point at something, you can open up manuals, things like that. It is very helpful. It takes a while until people adapt to it, but we have already this year, this is going since last year, we have already this year a huge amount of saving in travel cost because of this network that we've installed. So far we do it only with big partners, big companies, but actually it's very good, and our engineers are mainly on the computer now, not in the airplane, at least where we can do it. The other part here, the Scope 3 especially, is not in our hands today. So it's very, very difficult to tackle. And the picture for Marabu looks like this. The biggest part is in the raw materials and in the logistics. And here we start working, we're in discussion with raw material suppliers. And I think the first achievements that we will make is in logistics. We reworked a few supply agreements. We have some raw materials that historically, we are a 150-year-old company. You set up things, they run, and nowadays your logistic costs are expensive anyway. But so you look at it. But we will reroute a few raw materials, and raw materials kind of drop ship to our productions in Paraguay and USA, which helps us to save logistics cost and of course CO2 at the end. So that is the way it will pay off, and this has quite an immediate effect already then by next year. Raw materials, as I said, a journey where I might give another update sooner or later. But yeah, to get now a link to the inkjet world, I want to show you an application. And keep in mind, we are all supplier of someone. So we are in somebody's, as an ink manufacturer, we are part of somebody's upstream process here with our inks. And so if we keep our profile, emission profile low, it is a benefit for the customer. The market that we are going to look on is the direct-to-container glass printing market. They produce drinking glasses, for example, for IKEA and so on. And it will end up in end users' hands. So the brands that they produce for, they care. They want green ingredients because their customers actually ask for it. So kind of this market, or the products in this market need to change. And the traditional screen printing process here is mainly ceramic inks. We will come to back in a second, but historically, when they searched for solutions, only ceramic inks could hold up with the requirements of the friction, the cool refrigerator tests, and so on, dishwasher. So it's a historically thing. Nowadays, you have all heard of the digital solution, I guess. I want to show it to you shortly anyway. Just quickly, in case you have not seen it yet. By the way, Tim Schnelle will give a presentation later more in depth of the technology, but what you basically do, you print the glass into the machine, you print it CMYK, and then you LED cure it, which is of importance later again. And then basically the product is done. Sounds easier than it is at the end, but it's a very clean, quick process that you do. And then the product is more or less ready. And again, you LED cure it. To Tim Schnelle's presentation later on, he will go into depth. It's an amazing technology in KBA. So, we compare curing technology. To heat it up to 600 to 700 degrees Celsius to cure or dry the ceramic inks, whereas the LED technique that we're using in digital printing requires way less. I think most of the people will know that. So there's an obvious saving potential. And if you do the maths on it on a regular job, so I've taken into account the figures that you have seen here, you can calculate in how much CO2 this would result. And it's, of course, easier to digest if you have a graph. And I think it speaks for itself. The saving potential here is just enormous for the customers. Plus, they have the added values and advantages. There are some more teasing things for this industry, like the recent development of us, the high build varnish enables them to simulate embossing effects. So these are another few values that digital print adds to for these customers. And so basically I expect this to take off really, and the market will change in that direction clearly. And inkjet is in fact the solution that manufacturers need in the future to get a better emission profile, to become more efficient. And we just can contribute to that with taking also care of our backyard. And as I said, I'm convinced that it will pay off. If you look at environmental saving projects, you will have a commercial benefit from it at the end. New customers, less cost, whatever. We have done quite a lot in this matter, and it is also a book for itself, the Marabu's Environmental Report. You will get the presentation, click on the link, it's on our website, and we are really stripping down to the pants here. You see a lot of our production facilities, a lot of data and about Marabu, and I think it's very interesting for you to look it up. Thank you very much.
Thank you.